10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined as always by the technician Chris Aceto on this April 2nd, 2018 afternoon. And Chris, I have to start off with venting a little bit because, yes, it was a very busy weekend in the contest schedule, so we're going to talk about all those shows. But, I got this email from someone. I sent it to you, so you read it also. There's some website out there, I won't even mention who they are, who ranks podcasts, bodybuilding podcasts. I didn't know that you can actually have a website devoted to ranking bodybuilding podcasts, but evidently they do. We were ranked number 29. We made the top 29 list. They're like, congratulations, you made the top 29. Why they picked 29? There's probably only 29 podcasts. You made the top 29, and you're number 29, which... At first, I took offense to it, but then I'm like, you know what? We're actually at the top of the list. So the first one you see on this website is our podcast. And what did I say? What did I respond to them?
I can't even remember because I said
who ranked these? I said,
yeah. Well, that's why. I said
who judged this? I want to know who. First of all, who listened to
what criteria?
Right,
criteria?
And who listened to 29 of these podcasts? The 29 different podcasts to actually give them a ranking. I don't even know.
Yeah, who's the panel? Christian Duque and Blackman, and Sean Ray and.
No, I didn't get an answer when I asked for that. They're like, "Oh, my staff." I'm like, "Who the hell are you guys?"
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't even follow the industry. If you know what, maybe we're not one. We're certainly not 29. To 29th. We're ranked 29th. We have the most listens of any of these other podcasts, but we're ranked 20th. Matter of fact, Pete, the producer, the kid who used to work for me, he's ranked higher than we are. I didn't even know he had a podcast. Listening to him is like watching paint dry. But we were ranked 29th, so. I want to congratulate us on the air. Chris, we officially are the 29th best bodybuilding podcast, not even podcast, but best bodybuilding podcast out there.
Well, we could always move to number one and then be expelled from bodybuilding if we actually broadcast what we talk about before the show starts, which is very politically incorrect and dangerous.
Yeah.
It's all the real gossip.
Yes.
That
we can't talk about
people. Yeah.
But so we're number 29, so I wanted to mention that. I think I even have did I have the email exchange here that I gave to the girl? Let me see. I put these things in the notes. Let's see. I said, out of curiosity, who ranked these bodybuilding podcasts? Two members of our editorial team with help from our audience outreach.
The answer to that is.
And the reason I don't want to mention the website that did this is because I don't want to even give them any hits because I'll make them too popular. But it's a website.
Just mention it so we can,
It's called whatpods.com.
What pods? Everyone knows they're full of shit. Who's the person who sent it to you?
Kate. Kate.
She don't know shit. You know what? Get Kate on the show.
We should. So we're the top. I guess they rank all podcasts. They rank podcasts. That's all they do.
Yeah, they rank podcasts.
Obviously, I guarantee you they never listen.
You know what is their money model? How does she get money to eat her food and pay her insurance?
Look, everyone wants to be a rock star.
A rating agency. A rating agency for, It's like people send me emails, we can get you Instagram followers. I don't want any Instagram followers. I just do it because I have to do something when I'm sitting at a desk all day long, so I don't go crazy.
Exactly. So, yeah. So Kate from whatpods.com. We were ranked. Here's the email she sent me. Congratulations to Heavy Muscle Radio for making our list of the top bodybuilding podcasts. To compile the list, our team listened to hundreds of bodybuilding podcasts and recognized yours as being amongst the best. I didn't know there was more than 29 podcasts out there, Chris. So I guess maybe we did achieve something. Although if you saw the people who were ahead of us, you wouldn't think so. We have an official badge that recognizes the achievement of all shows who make our countdown.
Well, can you wear it?
They want me to put the code up. They're like, you're more than the code for this specific badge is included at the bottom of this email. You're welcome to place it on the about page or any relevant page on your website. If you prefer, like I'm going to put this badge of honor. We're ranked number 29 on the whatspods.com podcast ranking. If you prefer to include just a simple link, you might just add a line like, quote, Heavy Muscle Radio has won several accolades and has been most recently been recognized by whatpods.com as the top bodybuilding podcast. One of the top ones. Well, congratulations on producing such a fan. She probably thought that she probably was completely taken aback by my email because I just wrote her back. I was like, are you ready? I said, who the hell ranks these things? I said, no. I said, Kate, out of curiosity, who ranked these bodybuilding podcasts? She's probably like, well, this guy, he made the top 29. What is he complaining about?
Well, maybe we can rank her
podcast ranking system. Yeah. Evident. This is what probably happens. They don't. They rank all podcasts. They probably listen to one episode. They don't know. They don't know anything about. They don't know anything about our industry. So they don't even know, who anyone is. They probably go and look at Instagram pages or whatever. We don't even have an Instagram page for the podcast. We've been doing this since 2009. Almost 10 years.
10. Yeah.
So they don't understand who the. What they should have done is they should have put a poll up or something like that somewhere in a popular bodybuilding like Facebook group or something like that and asked who the people liked, what podcast they like. But anyway, so we're at the top. We're really at the top of the list, even though we're 29th. It looks like we're first. So I didn't complain too much. So I figured people will see it. Oh, well, actually, no one will see it because probably who the hell goes to these podcast ranking websites anyway? Like I said, they'll probably get more traffic after this radio show than they'll be like, oh, how'd you hear about us? So that number 29 ranked show told us about it. No one else talked about you, but the 29th ranked podcast talked about it. So but Pete, the producer, could talk about how he outranked us on the whatspods.com ranking. He'll talk about it. All right. Big news. Arnold Schwarzenegger, obviously, was all over TMZ and all over the news, underwent some open heart surgery. Now, people don't understand what happened. Evidently, and they said, by the way, he's 70 years old, Chris. Remember we were debating that.
Yeah.
He just turned 70 this past year. Arnold, a couple of years back, a number of years ago, he had a aortic valve replaced.
I remember that.
He had a defective valve. I think it was a genetic thing. That was. Remember, he had open heart surgery on that.
Yeah. He came out of the hospital.
Yeah. Now I don't know if that valve went bad again because usually the procedure that he had done, they do a procedure now where they actually can replace the valve, Chris, without having to open your chest up. They either make a hole right through your chest, small hole, or they can run a catheter up through your groin. Like they do when they do cardiac caths on you. When they put stents in and stuff like that, they can run it up there. And what they do is they have this it's a collapsible valve, and they actually put it in place with this catheter, and then they expand it, and the thing expands, and it kind of takes the place of the other valve that's there. It opens up more than the valve that's there, and so it acts. It's more competent, I guess you could say. The problem is sometimes it doesn't work, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't open properly. Okay, because don't forget the chest is not open at this point. It's minimally invasive. If they can't get the thing to open and seal properly, okay, which is the reason they're doing the surgery to begin with, what they have to do is they have to go and open your chest up and then do it, while it's open and put a real valve in there and make it work. So I guess Arnold knew the risks involved. Look, we're going to try it through this catheter because people are saying he received a catheter valve replacement. No one even knows what it is. It's not a special valve. It's just something they don't have to open your chest for. So it didn't work. So they must have just said, okay, that's it. We're opening them up. They cracked you. They saw your rib cage open and they opened them up and they fixed the valve. And it seems like he's doing pretty good already. They showed him in the hospital bed. I'm sure Arnold, had the makeup artists come in and make him, look good and everything like that. But he's a trooper. He's tough. And he'll get through this, Like I said, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it was because the other one the other repair that failed or it started breaking down. But they didn't say in the article which valve he had done. But this procedure is only done on aortic valves, and I know he had his aortic valve replaced a few years back. So I'm assuming they redid the valve replacement. So hopefully everything's great. We want to just wish Arnold a speedy recovery. Arnold's a tough dude, though. He doesn't complain about anything. He'll use it to rally the troops, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's always been a survivor.
No, but he'll use it as as motivation. I overcame the hard thing, and so could you, which is good because people need motivation in this world.
Well, that's what I mean. He's always been a survivor and a motivator, and someone who sees a silver lining in dark clouds.
Mm-hmm. He's like John Wayne, he's like the Hollywood tough guy,
Yeah, he'll come out fine.
Anyway.
Right.
I think he's going to recover. I think he's going to do well. I think the hardest part with these procedures is surviving the surgery. So in other words, the only complications usually occur when you're on the table. If you get out of surgery and they close you up, usually you're in pretty good shape.
Do you remember when he had the first surgery? And he was on the motorcycle, and I think it was like paparazzis chased him and ran him off the road.
Oh, did they really? I did not remember that.
Yeah, and he was weak, and he was weak, and he couldn't really defend himself. It was kind of like this weird, not embarrassing moment, but this odd moment where tough guy Arnold, and I don't mean that in a negative way, just, Arnold was younger, bigger, tougher, and, he's being chased by paparazzis, and they, ran him off the road.
Well, Arnold had that skiing accident? He hit a tree or something like that?
Oh, that's right.
In Aspen or something like that? And you remember he came to the Arnold, he was really messed up that year. I don't even know how he showed up. He just did it probably out of his loyalty to Jim Lorimer because
Trump is going to say that he's in better health than Arnold.
Exactly. See, all that working out, it's not doing him any good. I'm never in the hospital, Trump will live to 100 easily, guaranteed.
Yeah, you know why? Because he gets his blood boiling every day, which is a good thing. It's how my grandmother lived to 95 when she was 5 feet tall, 300 pounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of living a long time, I went and saw my dad today for Easter Sunday. By the way, I did a little Easter Sunday tribute on the RxMuscle site if you haven't seen it. I screwed up the camera. Whenever I'm in there alone, I never focus the camera. It's hard to do it when you're doing it yourself. I set the camera up and I got to put automatic. I always forget to put the auto settings on. Anyway, it came out pretty good, I thought. I talked about the eggs, the Easter egg tradition, and how it came about, and why eggs are such a good food for bodybuilders. So you guys can check that out. I have so many things in my brain right now. I'm not focusing.
Well, just spill them out. You went to visit your dad.
Oh, I went to visit my dad, right, on Easter Sunday. And, I know you've been doing Instagram. You have a lot of followers on Instagram. I have a lot too, not as many as you do. But I post pictures, but I never really do. I notice a lot of people do these little lives, these Instagram lives, or these little videos they upload. Now, I never really liked the idea of the whole thing because it's 48 hours and it's gone. It disappears. It doesn't stay any longer than that. But people love to watch these things. So Amanda does them. She's like, why don't you start doing a couple? So every once in a while, I'll be holding my phone and I'll just flip it on live and I'll start just talking to the camera. So I've been doing a couple of these things. So today, I did one when I was making breakfast for Logan, and then I went to see my dad. I'm like, everyone always wants to see my dad. So you'll love this. So I flipped it on while I was at the at Gulf Coast Village visiting him. He's eating lunch. No, he's eating dinner in the little restaurant there, and he was in a wacky mood. And I started filming him. I'm trying to explain to him. I'm like, Dad, there's I have 80,000 followers. There's potentially 80,000 people watching you right now. I said,
make him nervous.
You're live. No, he loves that. It's like my dad. All of a sudden he woke himself up when I said that. I don't think he got it. And people were saying, hey, hello from India, hello from Pakistan, hello from the UK, hello from Ireland, hello from, Bangladesh, hello from Timbuktu, all these, literally legitimate. I'm like, Dad, this is all over the world, people singing. I don't think he was able to really conceptualize the whole thing. I said, everyone wants to hear you sing. So he really wasn't he was like half out of it, but somehow I got 3 songs out of him, He sang Pennies for Heaven, All of Me. He sang...
All of Me is his favorite.
Yeah. He sang some... He's like, I can't remember the words. I'm like, you're singing the words to me. He sang Singing in the Rain. I don't even know what he was doing. People loved it. They thought it was hysterical. At this point in life, I'm not even embarrassed by my dad. I'm just let him go, because he's a character, And so I did like 25, 30 minutes at the at Gulf Coast Village on Instagram, and people are going crazy. They loved it. So, but the problem is it disappears. I actually saved the video to my phone just in case, because I said in case Chris didn't get. I said if Chris doesn't get a chance to watch this, I got to forward him the video. But it's,
send it to me.
Yeah, you just go on the Instagram. It'll be up there for another 24 hours, I think. You'll get a kick out of it. If you're sitting around bored and you want to get a good laugh and you get to see the whole dynamics of where my dad lives, it's pretty funny. I was surprised. Now, I did yesterday was April 1st, obviously April Fool's Day. I did a little, Sid has been hawking me to do an April Fool's joke. And I'm like, Sid, I do it every year. People know. They know it's April 1st. I'm sick. And then I have to explain to people for 6 months afterwards that it was only a joke. It was April Fool's. Because then what happens is people watch it like 4 months from now and they don't know it's a joke because they don't realize the whole April 1st thing. Like I did an April Fool's joke one. I don't know if it was a couple years ago that I was going to be making a comeback at the Masters Nationals in 2018.
Oh yeah, everyone thought that was
good. About it. I'm still getting stuff. Are you competing this year? No, I'm not competing this year. So I wasn't going to do it. And then at the last minute, I got an idea. I said, you know what? I was in the studio. I was recording the Easter Sunday video I did. And I said, all right, you know what? I got the Bleckman puppet out. It was Sid's idea, actually. He's like, do an April Fool's joke about MD and RxMuscle joining forces. So I said, all right, I'll interview Bleckman. So I got the puppet out. You saw it before. It's like a minute and 30 seconds. And people, I'm getting people texting me. Is it true? Is it true? I said, did you hear? I said 14 times in the thing it was April 1st. I know, but is it true? I think people want to see it. They want to see it come true. That's what the whole thing would be. Bleckman couldn't handle it.
It's like when the Russians and Americans, Dave. It's like when the Russians and Americans, like on a sci-fi movie, combine forces against the aliens.
Right. Exactly. But see, Bleckman couldn't handle it because, and I told him this when I was working. I said, Steve, when we fight on the forums and argue about keto diets, people think it's great. They think it's the funniest. They think we're putting them on. They don't really think we're fighting. I know you're taking it seriously. I don't take it seriously. But that's the humor of it, Steve. I said, let's play it up, but don't take it personally when we argue. And if people agree with me or they don't agree, who cares? He can't laugh at himself. So he would never do it, even though it would probably be in his best interest. I don't even know. I don't think I would even want to do it. But if I did, I mean, he would never even broach the subject to me because he can't laugh at himself. I can laugh at myself. You could laugh at yourself. Romano could laugh at it. He can't laugh at himself. Takes himself too seriously. He would see it as him having to suck up and everything like that. But you know what the funny thing would be? If we did it and we made a mockery of the whole thing, it would get even more. It would make both sides even more popular. But he would never do it. So that was my April Fool's joke. Sad news, before we get to the contest coverage, sad news. I don't know if you know who Mike Termini was. He was a bodybuilder from Jersey. He trained at Apollo Gym. Mm-hmm. We did some.
Yeah, well, I don't, but you sent me the link.
Yeah,
we did Iron
Asylum. Yeah, we did Iron Asylum videos with him in the past at Apollo, and nice guy. He died of a heart attack, I believe, this past weekend. So, condolences go out to him and his family. Super, super nice guy. I'm gonna get the full story from my friend Rob Zamborski over there at Apollo Gym. Rob is actually in California training. Rob's on this, he's in his 40s in this, midlife crisis. He's doing MMA fighting and all kinds of crazes. He's being trained by Freddie Roach now. Freddie Roach, the famous boxing trainer.
Yeah, sure.
Out in California. So when Rob gets back, I'll get the whole story on Mike Terman. But I wanted to just mention that and send out my condolences. Of course. All right, so we had a busy weekend. A lot of shows, Chris. I guess we should start off with the big one. Steve Kuklo winning the Indy Pro Open competition. Mm-hmm. Rather spectacular fashion. Straight unanimous first place votes. I watched pictures. I saw videos of him. He looked pretty damn good. I think he was at the right place at the right time. He brought really good conditioning. What was your assessment of Kuklo the way he looked here versus the Arnold?
I think he looked better here than the Arnold. I thought he looked very impressive, actually, at the Arnold. It's funny. I've just been impressed with Kuklo the last 2 years, and I used to say on the radio show all the time. I used to call him Steve Can't-Klo because people used to hype him up, and I was, I thought he got some quote gifts. Well, I don't even need to put a quote around that. I thought he got gifts in Brazil. I thought he got a gift in Dallas, and I think those were not justified wins, frankly. And as it turns out, they probably, as the head judge, who was head judging at the time, who's no longer around, they probably were dirty wins. And in the last 2 years, he's impressed the hell out of me. It started with the New York Pro, the one that Dexter won and Rolly was second. That was an incredibly deep New York Pro. I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think he was fifth or sixth. And he just looked way bigger than he'd been in the past. And he looked like he was in good condition. And I think he's just built on that since then. He won the California. Look at I can document his whole career. Since then. He won the California Pro after that, and he was even in better condition than the New York Pro. Again, really big, put on, a legit amount of muscle. And then he rolls, I guess it was into the Arnold this year, and, it was a deep lineup, and he belonged up there in the first call out, got up, got the first call out, and he upped his game for this show, and I think that this is by far the best Steve Kuklo we've seen, by far. I think he was in perfect peaked condition for what he has at this time in his career for this show, meaning he couldn't have been fuller. If he was fuller, he'd been off. You know what I mean? He wouldn't look as tight. And if he was trying to get tighter, he'd probably look flat. So I think it was just the perfect combination of fullness, condition, and I'm sure he had confidence after that Arnold, breakthrough, top five placing.
Absolutely, and he probably should have been higher there, like we said. He was good.
And I think I think he's a force. And the reason I brought up Steve Can't-Klo is because it's just it's surprising actually, because I didn't think that he would be able to, because he's got a big frame. You know what I mean? And he's always looked weak in the front double, and he's looked weak in the back double, and even to some degree weak in the back lat spread because the frame is so big.
Right.
That to fill it out, sometimes, it takes time, and sometimes you start to get older, you're running out of time. You're like, well, is it going to happen? And
he's still young, though. He's still pretty young, though, Chris. He's under 30, I think.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, there was expectations, you know what I mean, that it would have filled out by now.
Right.
But like I said, that's why I went back to like that New York Pro, because it's really only in the last 2 years, I think, that he's starting to come into his own, where he's filled out his physique enough where he doesn't have really weak shots at all. He has some tremendous shots. I think his most muscular is like lights out against a lot of people. I think his standing relaxed is lights out against a lot of people. By getting fuller, meaning bigger, like he's gotten in the last 2 years, it makes his stance in the lineup very, very impressive, where he can beat people who would have a crazy V-taper with a lot of mass, and he can obviously beat people, who don't have as much mass as him.
Sure.
I was really impressed. Really impressed.
Well, I think it was a good win. I think from my perspective, it was really the conditioning that sealed the deal for him. Because let's face it, Charles Griffin, who placed second, you said it, and I said it. This guy's a freak. He's a genetic freak. He's another Ronnie Coleman. He's got that Coleman-esque, glutes and hamstrings and the big, huge delts and arms. And I mean, that's an impressive physique. That's a guy when he's in 100% condition, very hard to beat. And I don't think we've ever seen Charles Griffin at his best.
Well,
but he's put on a lot of mass from last year, I'll tell you that much. He's way bigger.
He's way bigger. Go back to it.
I just said he's way bigger.
We saw it. Go back and pick. He's way bigger this year.
Yeah.
If you wind the clock back, the calendar back 365 days, he's way bigger last year than the year before, and way bigger the year before that. I mean, I don't think anyone is making the mass gains in the IFBB outside of Bonac.
and
he's
Akeem
making.
Williams probably. I think those guys would be the most recent
Well,
memory.
this guy's but Akeem turned pro as a super. This guy turned pro at 212.
Yeah, true. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with his physique.
Impressed.
I think that if he, and this is not taking anything away from Coock, because I think he brought the best he possibly could. If Griffin's in shape, because I think he's holding some water here, I think he's a hard guy to beat in the show. I mean, I don't know if Coock could have taken him out just because of the wow factor in his physique. But look, we always said it. Shows are won on conditioning a lot of times, and when you get a lineup like this that's stacked with good talent. That's what happens. The guys that are the best conditioned win. That's how Dexter Jackson won 99% of his shows, being in the best shape. Another guy who really impressed me in this lineup is Luke Sandow, and I mean we talked about him after the Arnold, being super impressive. And a lot of guys, I got emails from people saying, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Luke Sandow wasn't hard. I'm like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. This guy's got a ton of mass on his body. Talk to us a little. You work with him. I thought third place was very well deserved here.
Well, he cheats on his diet. That's his problem.
Does he really?
No, but he'd never been in shape in his really life ever, like shape. And if you were working with him, you'd know why, because his body responds to nothing. Mm-hmm. In other words, if you cut carbs, you go flat. You do cardio, his legs, as big as they are, shrink down to nothing. You increase carbs, he gets watery and soft. It's an oddity. So, he went to Australia, and actually, I helped him, and he'd never been, quote, in shape, and I knew he was in really good shape going into Australia. And I told Luke, I don't believe, people like this, if you look good the week before, why change anything? Because you can even look better. That's that's what I think.
Right.
So,
he looks like, and you can tell me I'm wrong if I am wrong. He looks like one of these guys that always is hard, but doesn't get that really crisp, grainy look until you wring the hell out of him. You have to torture the crap out of him. Is that accurate?
No, because if you torture him, he falls apart there too.
Really?
So yeah,
that's a fine line you're walking there with him.
Yeah. So in Australia, I knew that he was in actually like anyone who's could with any type of eye could look at him and say, "You look great. You're in shape." So I said, "You know what, Luke? You're just going into the show with no change in nothing, no reduction in water, no reduction in salt. You're flying into Australia, you get in your trunks, you get in the tan and just going into the show, because I've already seen, carbs go down and, you're flat, and like, when people say, I feel flat, and you say, dude, just suck it up. Right. Here's Luke. I feel flat. Well, send me some pictures. Oh, you look small. You were big 4 days ago. How'd you get so small? Well, you cut my carbs. So I was worried, really, in Australia that if I did something, it would be catastrophic. You know what I mean? You'd be like, God, I look so good 4 days from the show. Why didn't you just send me in just looking like this? So that's how I sent him in.
Oh,
and
you pulled a Levroni. Like Levroni didn't want to take the diuretic.
Yeah. So here, I kind of sewed him and depleted him a little bit and carved him up a little bit. So he looked,
wacky.
tighter here. Yeah,
wacky. I saw the pictures of him. Really good. Very impressive. I mean, he's so impressive that, he beat, two really good guys in the way of Ian Valliere from Canada, who's fourth. Ian is, I remember Ian. This is a funny story because a lot of people, he kind of came out of nowhere. I went down to
Mexico. I remember. You told me you said there's a kid from Canada.
Yep. Yeah. And we live streamed the event on RxMuscle.com. It was the Amateur Olympia Latin America in Acapulco. And this guy comes out of nowhere from Canada. I think, Latin America, what are the Canadians doing here? And I didn't know who Ian Valliere was. I looked at him on stage. I'm like, this guy's going to win the whole show. And he wasn't like he was the biggest guy, but he was in really good shape and in good structure. And people were like, he's never going to win. They were like, they had all these Latin American guys, all these South American guys who were favorites. They had won 400,000 amateur shows down there. I'm like, I'm telling you, this guy's the best guy up there. And he won. And he's just been putting size on little by little over the last couple of years. And wow, I mean, he's impressive. He's a real force to be reckoned with. And I think he's still only improving. Now, if I have the dynamics correctly, I believe that Ian does Chris Bumstead's diet. And I also believe that he dates Bumstead's sister, right? Isn't that how I think that's the relationship there.
God, talk about conflict of interest. I'm just kidding.
I believe that's how it goes.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's a great. And Ian was really good. I mean, I saw the pictures. So congratulations to Ian at fourth. And once again, I'm just giving.
He reminds me a lot of who's the guy from England who was a phenomenal teenager.
Ian Harrison.
Ian Harrison, not only because of the Ian name, but the Delts.
How did I know that's what you're talking about? They do look alike, though. Yeah, they look.
Because you're an encyclopedia of bodybuilding.
I know.
Dave. Even though you can't get the interview with Arnold.
Yeah, and I'm with the 29th ranked podcast. You know what the funny thing is? You know what it is? I can read your mind. That's all I have. There's no reason why that one person came into my head other than the fact that I can read your mind. Like, I don't know anything about the history.
We can go on a bodybuilding game show. Ding,
yeah,
ding, ding.
we'd be good at like
ding,
that.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay, ready? Dave, let's play a little game. I bet you get this one.
All right.
Glucose.
Milosh.
That's right.
No, you'd be like, no. You'd be like,
wait.
glucose. I'll be like, oh, insulin. Right.
KFC masterpiece.
Coleman.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's funny. All right. Let's. I want to just mention fifth place, Justin Rodriguez, another guy who's a diamond in the rough. He didn't really. I thought he was going to do better this year, but he really did do well when you think about the lineups he's been and the guys he's been going up against. But I think he was a little bit off at the Arnold. Here, I thought he was a little better, but I still think he's not at his best. What do you think?
I think that he was his best so far in New York.
Yeah, I agree. I saw, at least.
Yeah, and he was definitely better here than the. What you say? He's better here than the Arnold. Or better at the Arnold.
I didn't really make the comparison.
I think
he's a little.
I think
off.
he's better here.
Yeah, I said a little better here, but
sure.
I think he's been off just a little bit, recently. These last, this 2018 schedule that he's been competing, I think he hasn't quite pulled it in like he did last year. I don't know if he's trying to come in too big. He's still impressive. Don't get me wrong, but I think something's missing. You know what I'm saying? I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I don't know if he's good. I mean, I just he's. We haven't seen him 100% like crazy spot on, but he's been. No, I mean, New York Pro was his best, and ironically, I think when he won the North Americas, that was probably. I mean. It was condition-wise, it was a good package. But anyways, this was better than the Arnold for sure.
Do you agree that he needs to be a little more conditioned? Is that what it is? You're thinking? I'm trying to pinpoint in my mind what exactly is missing there.
but now you're going up. I don't think he.
Is it just better competitors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're going against Kuklo at his lifetime best. You got second. Griffin. Who just got a ton more muscle, and then you got Luke third at his best condition, and fourth, and at his best. I mean, freaky. So he's bigger than Lewis. So.
I'm going to make an analogy, and you tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, say I'm wrong. He reminds me of Victor Martinez before Victor started working with you. Remember, you see the structure, you see the talent, and He even has a very similar shape to Victor's. And Victor just wasn't getting that conditioning down. I mean, once Victor came into that Night of Champions in 2003, like shredded to to the end of the world, basically, no one could touch him after that. That's the impression I get from this guy's physique. He looks very Victor-ish to me. Well,
what he has in common with Victor is that he's round, and then that he has shape. And when you have that roundness and that flow, when you improve your condition by 3%, it moves you up like 4 positions. You know what I mean? Where somebody who's blocky and they're not round, they can improve their condition by 30%. They move up 1 position.
Because Ian Valliere is not as genetically gifted as Justin Rodriguez, but his conditioning is ridiculous, and that's why Ian Valliere beats Justin Rodriguez at this show, completely conditioning-wise. I think Rodriguez, if he brings that conditioning that I know that he's probably capable of doing, watch out. Now,
I think you're right.
if you looked, I don't know if you saw if you went further than fifth, our good friend Roman Fritz, who I know listens to the show, so I want you to hear him to hear your critique, was sixth here. What was your looking at the picture? Obviously, we weren't there in person, but look at the pictures.
Well, let me take a relook at the pictures, because you know what, I do this with Roman. Isn't that crazy? You make this, you go like, yeah, he's peeled, and you don't even look at the pictures.
Yeah, but you know what? I think he looked flat to me in the pictures, and
He's flat.
right,
He's absolutely flat, yeah.
and that's why nothing was popping. And Roman's afraid to eat. He's one of these guys that is afraid to eat too much. And I think he just needs to feed his physique more if he's going to fill up. Obviously, he's in shape. He's just really flat, right?
Yeah.
And he looks like he hasn't slept in a week here either. He looks really tired, you know.
Ridiculously tired.
So that and I'm going to mention the reason I mentioned that, and I don't even know, I haven't talked to him. I'm sure I'll get a text message after the show airs. I should have texted him first, but I just noticed it in the pictures how tired he looks. If you don't sleep, your body doesn't.
Water, you're done, dude.
You're done.
You're done.
Water goes to the wrong places. You don't fill up. You hold water under the skin because your cortisol levels go through the roof. And there's no way to counteract that. The only way to fix that is to sleep. So when you're traveling, I hate to say this because I'm not a big believer in recreational drugs, but when you're traveling across time zones where you know you're gonna have trouble falling asleep, you got to bring something that knocks you out. You got to bring like some Xanax or some Valium or something. Get a prescription from the doctor. You got to get something that's going to help you sleep. It's not going to screw your body up taking a half a Xanax or something like that. But what it's going to do is it's going to allow your body to assimilate all the nutrients and keep your cortisol levels low. So that's really important. And I don't even know if that's the case, but I'm usually pretty good at reading Roman. He probably was a nervous wreck for the show, because he knew he looked good and he put a lot of new size on. I could see it here. His legs look great. And I know I think he's competing again. I hope he is, at least.
He should. He should, because you know what's going to happen with him is
rebound terrifically.
Well, he'll just. Probably the more he eats, the better he'll get, because he's got a great metabolism, which could be a curse.
Mm-hmm. Hide Yamagishi, 7th place. Now, what happens here? Milos is probably going crazy. Is this just a better lineup that Hide's facing here?
It's a big guy lineup. You know what I mean? What I mean by that, it's a big guy lineup. Look at Australia. You got 5 foot Bonac and 5 foot, 5'6" Bonac and 5'6" Dexter, great bodybuilders, and you got Hide, who's 5'6". So there's some apples to apples comparison. Kuklo appears on stage 6'5". Ian is tall. Luke is tall. Mm-hmm. Griffin's freaky, so he's and Fritz is tall, yep. So he's smoked already out of the gate. In other words, the natural apple versus apple comparison is you're not even gonna introduce it here.
Do you be honest? Well, we're all friends with Milos and everything like that, and we know Milos is doing the diet of Hide here. Do you like the way Hide looks here compared to the way we see him in the past? He's obviously a lot bigger.
Well, which past are you talking about? Are you talking about a year ago or 10 years ago?
I'm talking about when he was competing in the 212 division.
You know what? To be honest, I hate that word. To be honest, I don't like Hide as a 212 bodybuilder. I think he comes down a little bit too far, looks stringy. I've never been really overly impressed with him as a 212 guy. I was surprised that he had shows where he did really well in as a 212. Well, he did one show where he did really well in, and I don't think he deserved to win that, the Arnold Classic. Actually, I thought Jose won it. So he's a better bodybuilder, bigger for sure, but the problem is for Hide right now is he's better with more muscle. Like a lot of people are better bodybuilders with more muscle, of course, because that's why it's bodybuilding. But look at this lineup. You put him next to Kuklo, Griffin, Luke, and Ian, and he looks like a kid.
Yeah.
I don't care how full he gets on that frame. He looks like a kid next to them.
Is his symmetry bigger? That's my question, because it looks like his waist got bigger too.
No.
And I don't think it's grown. I think it's just so overinflated. Because you know how Milos likes to carve people up. I don't have to go into it. Everyone knows what we're talking about. I think it might be too much for Hide. I don't think it's improving. I think it's ruining his aesthetics. A little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, his waist is wide here, but he's bigger everywhere. I mean, I think he's a better bodybuilder. I mean, his waist is a little bit wider, right?
Yeah. Something just doesn't look right to me, That's all I'm saying.
Well, he's so full as a house here. You know what I mean? I mean, for that frame. I mean, he's not a big, wide guy.
He doesn't even look like Hide to me. Like his whole face.
He's probably on like
changed.
8,000 carbs the last 3 days to fill him out.
I don't think he needs that much, to be honest with you. I think the fact that Milos put more muscle on him was good, but I think he's overcarbed. Dare I say? I don't know. That's why I'm asking your opinion. It's just something doesn't. I've said this the last couple of weeks as we've critiqued his physique, and I like Hide. I consider him a friend. I do. I really like the guy. He's a good soul.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
So I don't want him to take this personal. I'm trying to get your feedback because something doesn't look right to me.
No, I mean I'm not that critical of his midsection.
Okay.
I mean
he's tight. Don't get me wrong. It's just he looks like over, like how like some people get too carved up. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he needs more carbs.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. No, he looks different. He looks different in the face. He's rounder face. He looks different.
Yeah.
He's in shape here.
Right.
I don't think he's as good as shape. I think the best shape that he was in, the gnarliest, was the Arnold Ohio.
Yeah. Who worked with? You didn't work with Joe Mackey for the show, did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What happened to him? He looked very watery.
Yeah, I was holding water. I think he's flat. No, he was flat here. Flat.
He looks a little watery to me, Chris.
It's
His
flatness.
midsection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or a combination of both.
Yeah. Well, you know him better than I do. I thought we'd see him up there. Was he disappointed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured he would be. Fred Smalls finished it. Or Ken Jackson, I know you worked with too. He finished in 8th. He looked really good. Once again, this is probably the best he's looked.
Yeah, he had a.
He could be a little. He has trouble with water too. It seems like
He had a little career-ending, almost tricep injury.
I know, it's amazing that his arm actually looks kind of normal. I give these guys credit that are still going with all the injuries. I really do. It's tough. It's tough to come back from something like that and still look good.
Yeah.
Fred Smalls 9th. Dorian Haywood 10th. So tough top 10 there. I mean, and some of the guys who didn't make the top 10 are good guys as well. So Mitchell States, who I was predicting was going to do some great things at this show, couldn't even make the top 10.
Yeah, well, he's moving up from 212 to the Open, which I think is the right thing to do. I just think, it's weird. He's 212's not for him, I don't think.
No, I think it's just going to take him another year or so before he really fine-tunes everything. And, he's got the muscle. His legs could be a little bigger, but he's got a great upper body. He's got a small waist, got a good vacuum in the front. Could have been a little harder, I thought. But he'll be a future force to be reckoned with. I guarantee it. In the bikini division, Natasha Coleman, species nutrition athlete, wins, qualifies for the Olympia. Congratulations to her. She's one of these people that just has. You could tell she probably could be a track and field Olympian if she wanted to. Great physique. I love when I see people with just natural, talent like that. Doesn't just like, it's like, holy mackerel. This girl just has she's an athlete. Some people just don't have that athletic look. But she looks like she has functional muscle on her. She beat a pretty stacked lineup too of the bikini pros there. The 212 division, Chris, was really interesting. That's what I really wanted to get to next. I was just pulling up my score sheets here. Charles Dixon with another big win this year, narrowly defeating Jake Wilson. What'd you think of that little lineup, that little matchup?
I think that Jake could have won that show and no one would have blinked an eyeball.
What won it for Dixon? Size?
Yeah. They just, at the end of the day, Dixon is rounder through the quads. He's
certainly not harder than Jake Wilson.
no. He's got a compact, different look than Jake. Jake has a structure that in the lineup that's extremely impressive. His condition is lights out. So that should, carry you both to second or above.
I don't think Dixon has a neck. There's very few people who don't have a neck. I don't think Dixon has a neck anymore. I think it's lost in his traps. His traps, when he hits a front lat spread, it looks like his head is just like glued onto his body. But that's how big Charles Dixon is.
Yeah, no, he's a big mofo.
That's why
he's big.
They don't call him the tank for nothing, right?
Yeah, no, he's big. He's got the momentum coming off the Arnold. So I think that plays just a small degree in his favor, just because he's in good shape. That if you're judging the show, you're going to look at him probably first, and your eyes may be glued to him at the beginning of prejudging because he's the favorite. You
know what though? Conditioning wise, he's no better than he was 2 years ago when they were not placing him first.
I know.
That's what's a little confusing to me.
I totally agree.
So it's like all of a sudden his physique became acceptable. I don't know what happened or what changed, but
it's so funny you say that. It's so funny you say that.
He looks the same as he did a couple of years ago when he was placing fifth at all these shows. Sixth place, fifth place.
Yeah. Well, once they, I mean, it is what it is. But
you can only judge what's up there. That's the old saying, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of Silvio Samuel with the comeback after 8 years in third place?
I think he looked great. I mean, he just, he's not the Silvio. He's not the Silvio Samuel of the greatest of all time. But I mean, What a ridiculous expectation that somebody's going to come out of jail.
Yeah, and he was in there for quite a while.
Yeah, trained for a year. And why don't you get him on the show?
I tried. He's not responding to me. He originally responded. Maybe he was in lockdown for when he was getting ready. We'll see. I'll try to get him after. I'd like to hear the whole story. I really wanted to interview him. I didn't even know he was going to make a comeback. When I heard he got out of jail, I wanted to interview him just to see about the experience, how it changed his life. Because jail changes everyone. I truly believe, and I haven't interviewed him. I'm sure that he's completely a different person before he went in. I mean, he made some pretty stupid mistakes. He beat up his girlfriend and her mother, something like that. And, crazy when you think about it. He hasn't put back the size that he lost yet, and I think he will eventually if he keeps going. He doesn't look like he has any injuries or anything like that to me. It just looks like he hasn't got back the physique yet, that he had.
Yeah.
Blackman used to always carry on.
He's got a good physique, but he doesn't, no separation in the quads. No separation.
He would repeat it over and over and over.
He'd say it of Silvio or of anyone?
Of Silvio, he would say it.
He's not squeezing.
He's not squeezing. Great quads.
He's not squeezing. No They're just balloons. There's no separation.
I'm like, what are you talking about, Steve? This is what he said originally when Silvio hit the scene, because Romano was going crazy. Romano was discovered the guy at some Dallas Europa show or something like that. No one even paid attention to him. And he talked Steve into doing a photo shoot with him. It was really popular because he was a new guy in the block. And
look at the pictures.
I'm like, Steve, the guy's been training for 2 years. I'm like, give him a couple years. 2 years later, he's winning pro shows, If you remember, he actually, the first two, people don't realize they started the 212 class as a 210 class. Remember that? It was a 210, then it went to 202. No, it was a 210 first. 210? Yeah.
Why did they go down?
Who the hell knows? Silvio won the 210 and the Open at the Dallas Europa Super Show.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the first year they held the two. That was the first 210 they held. He won both. Then I think they made it so you couldn't do both. So, but yeah, he was a rising star. And,
oh, that's funny because it's so interesting because when he came into the show, I thought, why is he coming down a class? I didn't know that he'd already done 212 shows.
Yeah. I don't think there was a 212 when he was competing, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think. I think he was competing in the Open. He wasn't doing 202. I don't remember. I got to go back and look at his contest history. But anyway, just needless to say, he's back. Hopefully we'll get the interview with him and we'll find out how everything went. Fourth place, Ahmad El Dasani. What did you think of him?
Great shape.
Yeah, I don't really
Great
know
shape.
very much about him.
Not in great shape, but he's
He needs to work on the legs
round,
a little bit. Yeah.
round and big.
Ahmad, finishing right behind him in that fifth position. Obviously, we've seen Ahmad before.
Yeah.
I always say, and this is no disrespect to anyone. I'm not trying to. It's just he looks like he could be George Farrell's brother, doesn't he? They look like twins.
No, I'd say
Not
distant
physique-wise.
cousin, maybe.
I'm talking about
Distant cousin.
Yeah, I'm talking about facially speaking. But I always liked his physique. I think he's got a terrific balanced physique. He's got beautiful abs. He's got great pecs and delts. To be honest with you, I thought he deserved to be higher in this lineup. Did you see the pictures?
He's got shape, you know.
But he's in good.
Yeah, he's in good
condition,
shape. He's in good shape. He's always dangerous, you know.
Yeah, I thought he was a little overlooked in this lineup because I didn't think anyone was super, competitive. Now, Guy Cisternino has to finish and settle for sixth place here. I'm sure he was not happy with the sixth place finish.
No, not at all.
Give me the Guy Cisternino. I told him you got to shave that beard. I told him the beard. The marking you down because of the beard. Now Dixon has the beard too. So what happened to Guy Cisternino here?
I think that he is this season doesn't have the Guy Cisternino mass coming into like dieting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so he's starting out too small was what happened.
No.
Yeah. Well, you know what the thing is, and Guy and I have talked about this. If Guy is not 1,000% on, he's not going to do well because he doesn't have good genetics, to beat some of these other guys. The reason he beats these other guys is usually because he's ridiculously peeled and great. He's got great presentation. He's got a lot of energy on stage. Every detail is perfect. His tan is always perfect. He's a little off. He's not gonna place out of the top 5 or 6, but he's gonna drop down quite a bit because there's no reason Guy in this lineup can't be second place here or vying for the title normally under normal conditions.
Totally agree with you.
It's not a really ridiculous lineup, So that has to be a disappointment for Guy for certain. You think is he gonna take it easy for the rest of the year now and relax, or is he
he's gonna try to get like a rebound and you know what I mean? Try to get a rebound and see what happens.
Yeah, maybe he can pick up some shows in the summer or something like that. Definitely got to rest his physique and gain back some weight. That's what I would recommend. But do you even give these guys any advice, or you just let them talk?
No, I give advice to people. Some people don't want advice. No, Guy had asked me, and I said that the answer I just gave you is the answer that I gave him is that when he started his prep, which was late for him. Guy usually like 6 weeks out is round as hell and hard.
Right.
And 6 weeks out from the Arnold, I would say that he was not round nor hard.
Right.
So there's not a lot of magic that you can do.
Sure. No,
if that makes sense.
No, I understand what you're saying. You're right. All right, let's move on to the St. Louis. Our good friend Jack Titoni had the St. Louis Pro this weekend as well. They had a pro figure division, which was won by Nadia Wyatt. Congratulations to her. She'll be going to the Olympia. Wendy Fortino in second and Stacy Fujarski in third. Congratulations to those ladies. There was a pro bikini event there as well. Isha Barrow from Richfield, Minnesota, wins that unanimously. I don't know much about her, but she looks great. I saw the pictures. Stacy McLeod in second. And in the third position, Michelle Hurst. So congratulations to those ladies. They had a really competitive women's physique division won by Marjorie Beck from Brazil. She'll be going to the Olympia. Katie Lee in second. And Sarah Fetcher in the third position. So that was a very competitive. It's funny, I don't even know a lot of these girls, so it's kind of cool that we're getting some new faces, especially in the women's physique division. They had a bunch of Masters divisions. You know how I feel about Masters Pro, so I'm not going to even bring those up. we'll be updating all this stuff on the Muscle in the Morning show this coming week on Wednesday. That's usually our show update day. If you want to catch all the scorecards, you can go over to IFBBpro.com and you can see all the scorecards and see just how good everyone did. Let's see what else. There was another show this weekend. You got the Indy. It's funny. I was up at. This is funny. I was up late. I was up like 2 a.m. on, I think it was Friday night. And I was sitting on the toilet, I just take my contact lenses out. I was doing my final, business, and then I was going to go to bed. And I'm flipping through Facebook, which is the worst thing you could possibly do right before you go to bed. I always tell people, turn your phones off because it overstimulates you and then you can't fall asleep. And I see Mo Mosawi has on his Facebook page a live stream going from his phone. He's the promoter of this Fiji Pro show. And the Fiji Pro, they're doing like the finals or something like that. It's, because there's so many hours ahead of us. I'm like, damn it. And the 212s are on. I'm like, all right, I got to watch this now. So I stayed up for like another 40 minutes or 35 minutes just watching all these guys pose. And it was a good show. Jafar Azizi, again, from Iran, wins, beating Sami Al-Haddad again in the second position. Did you see any of the pictures from that show?
I did. I did see pictures.
What did you think of that? And Sammy Trouty third again. I thought I really liked the top three. All of them were really good. I don't even know I didn't even want to make a decision based on how they looked on video because it's like you almost got to be there for this. What did you think? Was it the right decision?
I was surprisingly, yeah, because the previous week I had seen pictures and I thought Sami Al-Haddad just had too much completeness, balance, shape, flow, and good condition, very good condition to not get the win. And then some people said, I think you talked about on the radio show in 29th place out of all bodybuilding podcasts. We probably slip into 30th as we speak. It was said that the guy who won, what is his name? The Iranian kid?
Jafar.
Yeah, he's Jafar. Good. Yeah, that Jafar had tightened up and overcame Sami Al-Haddad for the night show. And I looked at the pictures and I prefaced that with, I'm not there, so I really don't know. I'd like to be there, but I was still pretty adamant that I thought Sami should have won that show. And the scorecards were extremely close. These pictures, the ones that I had seen, Jafar was just pretty much granite, cement hard, so, really hard. And sometimes really hard, and he's got a lot of muscle, makes it hard to lose.
Yeah. And I got news for you. I liked Sammy Trouty in this, too. He was really good. I mean,
very good.
He's going to be I think he will be a very, very dangerous future 212 guy if he can keep himself in that weight class because he's got terrific shape and structure and he gets really hard,
Yep. And
super impressive.
Yeah, he's very impressive. And that's it just ran up into he ran up against two different physiques that are different than his. He's got balance, shape, flow, roundness, but he's going up against somebody who's been training a lot longer with more detail, polish, muscle maturity, and Sammy. So that puts him kind of on the odd out. And then Jafar's just, can get really hard, which makes somebody who's already in good shape, like Sammy, not look like they're, quote, in shape. And if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I got to mention fourth place because, we mentioned him last week or 2 weeks ago, I think it was. He's just as good here. Fahad Hazazi, from Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yeah, he looked great.
Remember, I was like, how did this guy not win the show? And I had asked someone, and a couple people basically said the same thing I did. It looks like he's got a torn quad, like the upper portion of it, where it's like a little ball on his leg. It doesn't. I don't know if it's definitely not like a bad injection site. It definitely looks like a torn muscle, like it was an old tear or something like that. It's just balled up a little bit. But whoa, this guy is freaking dangerous too. This was a really good lineup, for being in Fiji of all places.
Great lineup.
Nadi Fiji. They had 7 guys. Really stacked. Congratulations. Classic physique was won by Hitham Sadiq from Oman. He'll be going to. We're going to see a lot of guys at the Olympia we never seen before. A lot of international guys.
I'm telling you, mark my words.
Oh,
Classic is in for it's going to be in for a shakeup, dude.
Well, I just realized. Will Trump let anyone from Oman into the U.S. or are they banned?
Oman? I don't think Oman is. No. Oman is safe.
Oh, it is.
It
okay.
just Oman is safe.
And how do you know that? Do you just happen to know the?
Because it's just
the Iran-Iraq situation.
No, it's the Iranians, Iraqis, Somalis. Probably Sudan is on the list.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. There's 7. Google it. What are the 7 countries? Check it because it's important.
Are there really 7 countries? I didn't know there was
7.
Oh, okay.
The unlucky 7.
Is that what it's called?
No, we'll Google it. Figure it out.
All right, I'll look it up. I wanted to just mention one more thing though too. Classic physique. We had a classic physique division. We had a men's physique division as well, and that was won by Omid. Oh, I'm going to kill this one. He's from Iran. Gazkalala from Iran. So he's going to be. He won't be at the Olympia, that's for sure. He's on that list.
Okay, we got him.
Oh,
These
you got
are the
him?
countries.
Okay, read them off to me.
Syria.
Right, I've got Syria.
Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Yemen.
Who would have known?
Well, they're at war with the Saudis, and is Yemen fighting with the Saudis right now? Somalia, Chad, and Libya.
Oh, well, good. It's a good thing your friend El Gargani there is not living in Libya anymore. He wouldn't be in this country.
That's right. I wouldn't exactly.
What does he have? UK citizenship? Or I think he has Qatari citizenship.
UK. Yeah.
Oh, he's got UK. Okay. I know he lives in the UK, but I know he was living in Qatar for a while. He might have Qatari.
Imagine the controversy and the pissedness if you're Jafar, and you're thinking, why aren't I going to the Olympia?
Right.
And Kamala's going to the Olympia.
Right. Now who's laughing? Who got the last laugh? No wonder why Kamal never wants to go to Libya. He doesn't want to be associated with them so he can get into the U.S. when he needs to. Unbelievable. One more show this past weekend, one more pro show, that is. The IFBB Governor's Cup, that's Lindsay's show. They had the pro men's physique, and Brandon Hendrickson won that. Joseph Lee in second, and Dean Balabas in third, as we predicted on this show. So congratulations to those guys. They had I think there was like 3 bikini pros to this events this past weekend. Rafael Milagres from Florida wins, and she beats Camille Perriot, and in second, and Frida Paulson Stern, who finishes in third from Sweden. So busy weekend. We also had the amateur NPC Steve Stone Metropolitan Championships. Just for posterity's sake, I won that show in 2000, the overall. I won my class in 1994 there. So that's how far back I go with that show. And I wanted to just mention, my good friend who I trained and who obviously I've known since he was born, Cole Hanzik, won the middleweight class. His first bodybuilding show in the open category in the middleweight. It was a disastrous prep. He had a lot of ups and downs. The fact that he came out of it with the win is amazing. But what I wanted to point out is that, remember we talked about the shift, Chris, with classic and open bodybuilding?
Yep.
This is a huge show, big national qualifier. There, according to the scorecards, there might have been 3, 6, 6 and 11. There was 12 open bodybuilders in the whole show. 12.
Yep.
In the classic division, okay, there was probably 60 people or something or so. So what does that mean? I don't know, but it definitely means
listen,
more people are doing.
Go to the tape archives.
The men's physique division had probably more than that. So it's
go to the tape archives, Dave, because I said from day one that classic bodybuilding would I can't, it wouldn't take over, but it's just
This is only in year. What are we in? Year 3?
yeah.
That's not good for men's open bodybuilding because when you don't have guys doing these local shows. Now this just might be an anomaly.
It's
an early
it's
show.
not. It's like teen bodybuilding, dude.
Yeah, you don't have the young guys doing it, the local guys doing it. Then what's going to happen is you're going to have a reduction in the national guys doing it, and then a reduction in the pros. So I don't know. We'll have to see how this goes. Maybe this was just an anomaly, but I don't think so. It's especially in New York. New York is a big bodybuilding state, so. But you know what? Then you can have the Atlantic states in July, and it might be stacked with bodybuilders. So a lot of guys, sometimes the bodybuilders like to wait till the spring and summer. Because you know what the problem is? You do a show now in March, and there's really no, big, Junior USA, Junior Nationals, NBC USA. Those shows are not till the summer. So a lot of guys will wait a little later into the year before they start. But it is definitely the writing on the wall. Like and you predicted it. We both said this classic division is going to steal a lot of guys away from open. And it has. It really has.
I mean, I made the argument. It was not, I don't want to rehash it. I just, a lot of physiques that were winning professional shows that people didn't want to emulate, confuse people on the sense of like, do I want to look like that?
Right. No, it's true. Or is it easier to do this other class? I think people tend to take the easy way out, don't you?
No, I just think that, no, I don't think that. I think that...
I work with guys that are not that big, and they're like, I don't want to do the open. I'm just not big enough. I have a good shape. And I'm like, you're right. Let's do classic. Do it. So a lot of guys are doing both, but some guys, they don't want to spend the money, on the application fees, and I don't blame them. It's expensive, and they're like, "What do you think I should do?" And a lot of times, I'm like, "It's classic." I have to be honest. Where they fit in right. So Daniel Nocioli won the overall. I'm going to mention his name, so give some props to the open bodybuilding champion. Congratulations. And that's it, Chris. We had a busy week, obviously. A lot going on. I'm done with my April Fool's jokes. Not doing them anymore. If you guys want to check out some great interviews we did this past week, I don't know if you had a chance to watch them.
No, who'd you interview?
We had a great week.
Who'd you interview?
I did a great interview with Laura Bass, who... I don't know if you remember her from the 90s.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Great woman bodybuilder. Really took the scene by storm. She really kind of dropped off because she really just wasn't big enough, in the year she came along and the girls were huge. Yeah. And I interviewed her about the 90s. We talked about going to Dubai with Mila. It was her, me, Milos, and Edgar Fletcher. That was and Edgar didn't hang around with us. He was too good for us. But so it was really me, her, and Milos hung out together. So you can imagine the conversations that they were. It was predominantly about insulin, because this is when we would this is when Milos and I were just figuring out the whole insulin thing. So no one really had protocols yet. We were just starting to really.
What year was that?
1996. Oh. That was. I had a good time with Milos. Milos and I always got along with Milos because you know what? He's a very intelligent guy, and we talk. We had the same passions. And he could talk about anything, Milos. And he's super entertaining. Milos complained more than any person there. It was great because he said everything that it was bothering. Usually I'm the guy opening my big mouth. Why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? Milos complained about everything that I was thinking in my head, but I didn't have to even open my mouth up. It was terrific. It was absolutely terrific. I did a video on how to keep your kidneys healthy on my Ask Dave section. Big. I know a lot of people have been asking me about that, so you might want to check out Ask Dave from this past week. Lee Priest, obviously, and John Romano and I were talking about people who don't train hard in the gym. I know people they love to watch that kind of stuff. They find it very, very entertaining, Chris, for some reason. And it was a good week. This coming week, I have a couple possible surprise interviews as well, so I don't want to give them away. Because whenever I mention an interview, then the person cancels on me, so I'm not saying a word. I'm not opening my mouth. What did you do with your kids What did you do with your kids this weekend? Anything exciting? Sports?
Let's see. I have to backtrack. Today, Sunday.
I'm gonna interrupt you. I forgot to mention. I had a block. Jason Hutt was in my studio this past week with Anthony Pasquale. Anthony Pasquale, who, as we all know, is the guy who dropped out of the USA 5 days before the show, and he's running Jason's company. Jason had severe mercury toxicity, and that's why he kind of dropped off the scene for a while. But he's back. He talks about how he discovered it and how to get rid of it, and of course I think that I have mercury poisoning.
How did he just with fish or no?
Yeah, he was eating like chili and sea bass. The funny thing was he was going to Whole Foods and spending a fortune on chili and sea bass.
Yeah, they probably just get it from where they get it from. Does it even come from Chile or no?
No, it's the chili and sea bass is really some kind of other fish. I forget, they give it a fancy name, but it's really some other kind of fish. Any of those big game fishes in the sea have mercury because they've been around for a long time and they eat other fish that have the mercury in them. It's the tunas, the swordfish, chili and sea bass, anything that is a really fatty-ish fish. Now, salmon seems to be immune from that. The salmon do not have the mercury in them. That's why I try to eat more salmon, because I try to stay away. But I'm convinced I have mercury poisoning. I'm going to get tested. And it's interesting. Jason was basically saying that just getting blood tests is not good enough because you might not have eaten fish in a year or two, and it might have cleared your blood, but it's still in your tissues. So what they actually did with him was they actually gave him a chelating agent. I think they put it through an IV and they gave him some oral. And then what they do is they make your urine. They test your urine because the chelating agent, if you have these heavy metals in it, will pull them out of your body.
Drags it out.
So you'll be able to measure it in the urine, and it's like a challenge test. It's called. Which makes sense.
I thought the chelation therapy was banned in the U.S.
No, there's doctors that do it. He found a guy over by him, and he's not too far from me. He's about an hour from me. He's in Sarasota. There was a guy out there. That's all the guy did. He went to the doctor. They told him he had Lyme disease. That's why he was feeling so terrible. Yeah. Because evidently high mercury levels will masquerade as Lyme disease symptoms. He didn't have Lyme disease at all. He actually went for the Lyme test. They told him he had it. Him and his wife. And because she was also having symptoms, not as bad as his. Turns out, once they got chelated and got the heavy metals out of the body, they became negative for Lyme disease. So this guy, he was like suicidal. He didn't know what to do. He felt terrible. He was horrible. And they're telling him he has Lyme disease now. And they wanted to start all these therapies for the Lyme disease. Thank God he found this other guy and got tested. And so he did a lot of research. He said he spent a ton of money too. He even went to the Mayo Clinic. They couldn't figure it out. So, just goes to show you, if you're having weird symptoms. He felt terrible. Probably no one in their right mind would eat as much chili and sea bass or have the money to eat as much chili and sea bass as Jason did. But Jason was doing well financially, and he was like, screw it, I'm gonna eat healthy. He thought he was eating healthy. Imagine that. The guy cuts the red meat out of his diet. He's like, you know what? I'm a big bodybuilder. I got to start eating healthier. And so he starts eating all this fish, and he's poisoning himself meanwhile.
Yeah, well, that's right. Trump just eats Taco Bell and McDonald's.
It's true. He's like, you know what I eat now? French fries.
It's funny, right?
French fries. He goes, I'm healthier eating French fries.
Well, you don't know where a lot of food comes from.
Yeah.
You don't.
It's true. But he actually sent a piece of the fish out and got it tested. That's how he knew it came from there. Because he's like, at first I thought, well, maybe it was from taking steroids from China or something like that. They were tainted with, heavy metals.
That's what, I couldn't get it out. I was going to say maybe the fish comes. Have you seen some of the tilapia that's raised in China?
Yeah.
Have you seen those videos?
Seen it. Yeah, the ones where they're like living in like the dirtiest looking fish tanks you've ever seen.
Yeah, and they're eating like pig feces. They're dumping pig feces into the pond at the same time of feeding the fish.
Yeah, it's horrible. I know. That's why I don't eat farm raised fish. But you know what? The wild fish has got mercury in it, so you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's a great interview, by the way. If you gotta watch it. Jason really opened up, and he talks a lot about his business too, which I found very interesting. How he started that business up. It's funny because I'm like, I know
what business is it? I don't know.
Well, he has a supplement company, Steel Supplements, but he also has a clothing line. So I'm like, I never even bothered to look at the T-shirts that he sells. He sells like a ridiculous, like 1,200 T-shirts a week or something, like some kind of crazy number like that. And so we're doing the interview, and Tyler, our producer, puts up the website for the T-shirts, and the T-shirts like "Go fuck yourself" on there. They're like all kinds of hardcore
same stuff your father says at the old folks home.
at the right. It's what my dad says to all the people there at the assisted living place. But yeah, they're all like curses and like hardcore slogans. And I'm like, you sell these things? He's like, we can't keep them on the shelf. I'm like, holy mackerel. And they make them there. He has like his own little factory there too. So I'm like, wow, I'm impressed, Jason. Great. But Jason's one of these guys, very creative, has always had a work ethic like you've never seen before. I mean, when he was bodybuilding, he was 100% bodybuilding. And really the truth is he got out of the bodybuilding when he had his kids. Yeah. He really, he realized it was just consuming his life too much. And not many pro bodybuilders can do that because he had talent to go far.
Yeah, he did. And it's fascinating that he would have the mindset when you're in the tunnel to know that you're in the tunnel. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because some people might say, hey, this is devouring your life.
Yeah.
And you'd fight back and, you justify it, or you feel like you're being attacked. But for him to independently decide that or figure that out, that this is all consuming. Because that is bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
It is for people.
Absolutely.
Very, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's very all-consuming.
It is.
And it interview Jay sometime.
Yeah, I'll get him.
Ask him that question. Say, how all-consuming is bodybuilding? What are the negative detriments? I think he balanced his career extremely well. But I think in retrospect, if you asked him about his career and in terms of being in tunnel vision, he was 100% absorbed.
You have to be.
You have to. And he'll say you have to be.
If you want to be the best, you do. That's for sure.
But he lived a good life as a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
At the same, I mean, some people it absorbs them in the sense that it makes them. It doesn't allow them to fulfill their potential as a person because they're so overwhelmed by it. If that
Dorian
makes sense.
said the same thing. He did nothing when he competed. I mean, and he didn't really start to grow as a person until after he stopped competing. So he was honest about it. Jason brought his son over too, Leo. He's the same age as my son. I think he's a month younger or something like that. Mm-hmm. And my son wouldn't play with him. So Leo was playing with all my son's toys. No, my son doesn't want to be. But he'll only show off and be a big shot when no one else is around. With other kids around, forget it. He clams up. So Leo was driving my son's little Mercedes car around. The kid, he's like a little genius. This kid, he picked it up in like 3 seconds. He was driving around with this little Mercedes car, and he was playing with all Logan's toys. Logan was sitting on the sidelines, paralyzed. Didn't know what to say.
Well, was he upset that someone was touching his toys?
I don't think he was upset. He just didn't want to do anything. He just shut down.
Well, when we came
my
over
wife
to the
said,
house,
Amanda said he was crying at first when Leo first got there. Logan, play with Leo. You guys are the same age. I want him to make friends. And Jason homeschools his kids too. You know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he does.
Maybe we can have like a Skype session where me and my wife can go out on a date and just stick the kids in front of like the computer and let Jason's wife could homeschool him. Yeah, that's funny. Oh, Jason's wife does it.
Yeah, just like your wife.
Oh, so he's just like me. He don't teach him nothing.
No, he just goes to work. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the provider.
It's funny. His kid is, he looks half Asian, because like Jason is. Jason's actually only half Asian, but he looks Asian, the boy, but he has like these big blue eyes. They're crazy looking, and he's a cute kid, really good kid. We had fun with him over. It was a fun day when they came by. They actually stayed for like a couple 2 hours afterwards. We were just hanging out outside, bullshitting, and Jason was looking for alligators in my backyard there. We actually in the interview, if you guys have seen it or you haven't seen it, go watch it. We were really breaking what's his name, Jason's balls a little bit. Excuse me, Anthony Pasquale's balls about dropping out of the USA 5 days before. So anyway, that's all I got. We probably went too far for the 29th rated podcast. Where I think we're giving Chris these guys way too much
No,
value.
we could have slipped to who's 28. I just want to know who's number 1 and who's 28.
You want me to really find that? I can.
Well, I'd like to be able to pass the people who are technically 28 and aspire to be number 1.
Yeah, well, we don't have a choice because we'll never beat Pete, the producer. His podcast.
Is he he's top 3?
No. I think like Charles Poliquin somewhere. It's really interesting how they picked these who is up there because I never even heard of these podcasts.
Who's up there? Give me.
All right, I'm going to get the list.
Well, if you haven't heard of them, neither would I.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to get the list.
Let's ask Jose Raymond and Jay Cutler if they know of any of the
29,
28 ahead of us.
Yeah, right.
Ask the lady. You know how the lady's full of shit. Ask her. Who's Steve Kuklo?
Well, we don't know. We're not really sure.
Yeah, we're not.
I have to ask my staff. Yeah.
She has a staff of 2. She said, but then how many people reviewed the shows?
Oh my God.
Ask Greg Valentino what she thinks if he's been on any of those 29 other shows.
Exactly. I can't find it. Hold on a second. Hold on. I think I found the link to it. Bodybuilding Nerds Radio beat us. They were 28th.
Wait a minute. Wait. We're getting beat up by Bodybuilding Nerds.
Yeah, they're probably a better podcast. Did you know that Bodybuilding.com had a podcast? They're 23rd.
Bodybuilding Nerds. I'm Googling it. Bodybuilding Nerds Radio.
They consider Tim Ferriss's show. He's got a good show, but I didn't know he did.
Bodybuilding Nerds Radio, episode 73, with special guest, Bodybuilding Nerds Radio. Let's see. Bodybuilding Nerds. They don't look like nerds.
The whole What's Pod, the website which did this ranking, it's got 31 views, the whole thing, and half of those are probably mine from going back there so many times and just looking at this thing and laughing.
Okay, Bodybuilding Nerds. Give me random, unlucky number 13. Who's unlucky number 13 on the site?
New York Muscle Radio Podcast. I think that's Pete that produces. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Muscle Radio. He's not even regional. He's not even like the.
Hold on, I think I'm going to give you who won. If you're going to rank things, you got to at least know what you're ranking.
And what's the lady's website? What is her website? So I can.
I told you whatspod.com or something like that.
What pods?
It's whatpods.com.
What pods? Love podcasts more than regular people? That's what. Let's see what's. Love podcasts more than regular people? We need intelligent devotees with a critical mind to contribute genuine independent ratings and reviews. So she's looking for people to make ratings.
Yeah. I think Christian Duke's looking for a job. Call him up. Right?
Yeah. It was founded by 2 lawyers. Oh, I better not say anything bad. They might put in
They might take us out of the top 29, Chris, if we keep making.
Who fell into an obsession for the podcast medium early and haven't shaken that obsession. The problem they continued to encounter as podcast fans is reliably finding new ones. There are about 400,000 podcasts available in the iTunes library and no reliable way to surface the best ones on demand. We have big plans to evolve the site into a place where intelligent and restlessly outspoken people like you and us can congregate and start to drive the podcast discourse. But until then, we need you. So they don't even have employees. They need people to... We need you to help us fill what pods with genuine, organic. They get that keyword. Organic.
Yeah, that sounds like a Blackman. Yeah.
Vibrant discussion. Vibrant discussion. Not just discussion. Vibrant and commentary.
All right. That's it. No more. We're not giving any more energy to this. People have been commenting. I did a couple of. I don't know if dare I call them spiritual, but I gave advice rants I did last week and this week, and I got one coming up on Monday. People seem to like them, so I think that there's a mental aspect of the game that no one's really addressed, and so I'm trying to do that a little bit more now. I give a lot of nutrition advice, and you and I do a lot of analysis, but sometimes, and we give advice on this show, but I think sometimes standalone shows are good kind of on just giving, mental training to these bodybuilders out there, because a lot of guys are mentally weak, and they crumble when they do these shows, and they can't handle family pressure, and they can't handle the pressure of life. They can't hold jobs while they're competing. So I think it's important that we mentally train them as well, Chris, as physically and emotionally train them.
Yeah.
And on that note,
yeah, that note, we'll shut it down.
And on that note, until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
Good night, everyone.
911!